MLR folks, round number 6. Sorry this video is a little bit late, but yeah, there were a bunch of games on. No DC this week, they were on the bye. Probably much needed seeing as they've been on a bit of a poor run. But yeah, there were 6 games on. I managed to catch the top of table clash between ATL and AG. The other ones I've kind of caught up on some highlights and whatnot. But yeah, we'll go through the games and see how things are looking. You guys can let me know your thoughts on how your team or teams are going. Like I said, the first one, AG get their first defeat of the season. They were looking like they could potentially go on some kind of all-conquering run, eh? But they finally dropped the game in Atlanta. It seemed pretty windy, just the conditions-wise. And yeah, 29 points to 14 is a pretty solid win. It was nice to see the ref, Federico Anselmi, lay down the law pretty early in that one, saying that he wasn't going to have like players yelling at him and whatnot during the game. He set that marker down really early, and he actually pinged the ATL 9 for it later on in the game, and it ended up being a bit costly, but I guess we'll get to that in a bit. It was 3-0 to ATL early. I mean, AG's defense was holding for quite some time, and it was a weird one where they didn't really manage to get on the front foot as much as we would have seen them in recent kind of games, although the first try for ATL was an intercept. So it was 8 points to 0 to ATL. Then their maul actually did get going, so I think it was Marco Janssen van Rensburg got over for that one. They missed the conversions, but 13 points to 0 starting to look pretty solid. But, I mean, I guess AG showed us a bit what they have been showing us this season. When Mark O'Keefe, the midfielder, went over for their first point, although the defence from ATL on that one was pretty soft. So 13-7 and then 16-7 at halftime when ATL got another penalty. ATL put more pressure on me at 19-7. So at that point, it's kind of looking like game over. And then that incident that I'm talking about, the ref pings the ATL 9. He just said to the captain, like, he's constantly screaming at me. So he gave away that penalty. That penalty gets AG some good field position. They maul it. The maul gets stopped, but Lawrence, the big, and I say big, number 9, like that guy's built. He powered over for a try to make it 22-14. So 22-14, like there's still 2 scores, but that's game on, right? But to be fair, ATL bounced back. Talafusi got a try with some good steps to make it 29-14. So yeah, that's the game. It was the top of the table clash. I was pretty pleased to see that one. It was a proper ding-dong battle. I actually managed to watch it without too much distraction for a change. So rather than just having all the games on and watching them in the background, I really wanted to set aside a couple hours to actually watch the game proper. So that was nice to see. So that means AG dropped their first game. They're 5-1. ATL are 4-1. So both sides really looking the business. Both sides are still first in their conferences though. So yeah, that's still looking good for both. ATL are away to DC, like I mentioned, so it doesn't get any easier for DC. They'll be up against this ATL side, and AG are home to New England, which could be a pretty tidy game because New England's their record is now 4-1. Their record goes on. Just a 1-game drop for them. They beat Toronto, whose record is now below 500, but they still gave a good effort. Remember, they haven't really had much in the way of home games just because of the weather. That being said, the weather looked pretty nasty in New England. Like the pitch was white by the end of the game. It just seemed to be snowing, I'm assuming. I don't really get to see rugby in the snow here, so it doesn't snow in Auckland. But yeah, green St. Patrick's Day kit for the New England guys. That was something a bit different. But I mean, if you don't watch New England, like if you kind of new to the MLR, New England might be one of the teams I would suggest watching. Not only do they have pretty slick jerseys, but Bodine Waka has been in just unbelievable form for several weeks now. Like, he is just absolutely tearing it up. I mean, the try that he scores, he puts in an up and under. He's the man to kind of shoot up towards it. He doesn't catch it from, like, the ball coming down. He hits it on the volley with his foot. And then he doesn't actually go to score the try. He manages to regather and offload it for the try. But Yeah, he is just doing incredible stuff like that week in, week out. So, I mean, New England went out to a 14-3 lead when McDowell got his first of 2 tries. Toronto got one with a crossfield kick, which was pretty good given the weather, to make it 14-8. But then McDowell's double made it 21-8. That was during a yellow card as well. So, Toronto did get a losing bonus point at the death, which is good for them, seeing as they were away from home. So their record's 2-3. But like I said, with the weather being a bit, I'm assuming, frosty up in Canada, they'll play their home games. They've played one in Western Canada, I think, but they're going to play more home games towards the later end of the season. New England are 4-1. So, yeah, New England looking good, man. Second in the East. And Toronto are 5th in the East. We will see how these teams go next week. I've not written down who those teams are playing. I guess AG have got New England away, and then Toronto's playing Utah, so that could be pretty tidy. Houston and Seattle, 21-19. That one's a proper dramatic one. That might have been one to watch, actually, in terms of like a game going down to the wire, although it was kind of a Seattle last-minute try that got them a losing bonus point more than them being in a position to win it. It was a pretty tight first half, seeming like 7-5. One try to Houston, one try to Seattle, like right before halftime. So they weren't able to get much going in that first half, seemingly. But then Martin Yosefo got a pretty nice set piece one for Seattle to put them in front, although the moment of the game, at least from what I've seen from the highlights, probably seems to be, and it's another one that's worth watching if you want to go watch some MLR highlights on YouTube. There's a coast-to-coast one on like 60 Minutes where Smith, the halfback, ends up getting one when Seattle are hot on attack. There's some loose ball, and one of the, I forget which one it is, one of the Houston loose forwards just picks it up and runs unbelievably far. Like, you think he's going to pass it to the guy outside him, and he just keeps running. Eventually, he does pass it. But, yeah, I was a bit surprised no one was able to get back and catch him because he held on to the ball for a long time. So that made it 14-12. And then Houston got one on 70 minutes, which made it 21-12, which is pretty much game over. Although, like I said, Seattle do get one at the death. To make it 21-19, they at least get a losing bonus point in that one. So, yeah, they're at 500, 3-3. Likewise, Houston, 3-3. So, kind of mixed records for both of them this season. So, certainly a bit to improve on, but Houston miles better than last year, that's for sure. I mean, even Seattle last year were kind of poor. So, yeah, Houston have got the bye. They're 4th in the West. Seattle are away to Dallas, and Seattle are 3rd in the West. So, kind of similar records like I mentioned. Speaking of Dallas, still hankering out for that first win. Didn't quite come against NOLA. Remember, NOLA had gotten a win the week before to break their losing run. So, they've now got 2 wins, 32-26. They get that one done. But to be honest, it's closer than it looked like it was going to be. Because, I mean, NOLA scored early. And then they scored again. I think they scored the first, 3 tries. It looked like they were just going to give them an absolute hard. It looked like it was going to be 17-0 at halftime. But then I think it's Napolski got one for Dallas to make it 17-5, which at least got them on the board. And then, I mean, Dallas scored a bit of a worldie, right? A pretty impressive try in 55 minutes. Like a big run down the left wing, some good carries. As I mentioned, kind of quite highlight worthy. If you want an underdog team to support in the MLR, the Jackals are the right way to go at the moment because they're a new team in the league. They haven't got a win yet, but they're plucky. They're not giving up yet. I mean, sometimes it's nice to root for an underdog, right? That made it 24-12. It was a 10-point game with 10 minutes to go, and then Torres, the midfielder for Dallas, ended up getting a try, which made it 26-29. So that's like proper, man, is this going to be the time they get their first win? But there's a penalty at the end for NOLA to make it the 32-26 game. So still waiting, close, getting there, but still work in progress for the Dallas guys. They're going to get it at some point this season. I still think DC is looking like their best chance for it, but you know, it's another competitive game. It's not like they got beaten. I mean, they're going to get games where they get beaten by 50, but this wasn't one of those ones that were competitive. So, yeah, they could have, like when they were 17-0 down, they could have, you know, gotten a hiding. But good for them to kind of fight back. So, yeah, 32-26. They're none from 6. Dallas, they're 7th in the West. NOLA at 2 and 3 are 4th in the East. Dallas got Seattle at home, which, I mean, Seattle, like I mentioned, kind of 50-50 record. You never know, that could be the one, but it's going to be an uphill battle. But, yeah, they keep fighting, and NOLA are home to New York. Speaking of New York, they got, if you're looking like they're wanting the dramatic finish, this is the game. New York against San Diego. Like, this one literally goes down to the last kick of the game. Exchange of penalties, and to be fair, San Diego, like Joe Peterson seemed to be kicking pretty well. He missed a kick in this game, which in the scheme of things wouldn't seem that important, but given that it's a 3-point game, it's a pretty costly miss. And yeah, he's usually a pretty reliable kicker, and he is reliable because he kicks seemingly most of them. It's an exchange of penalties early, 3-0, 3-3, 6-3, 6-6, but then Fuatai got one from loose ball, and there was a couple of times, I think both these teams scored tries where the other team drops the ball, and you know, the defending team just picks it up and goes length of the field. So you know, punishing those mistakes is sometimes just what they do, right? So 13 points apiece early in the second half. Kara Pryor, good Northern man, he gets one. Kiwi boy from the north of the North Island. He gets one to make it 20 points to 13. That's when San Diego missed their penalty. And then Andy Ellis puts in a bit of a seemingly poor dink through that San Diego scored a bit of a worldie of their own to actually go in front 23-20. But then, man, Jack Hyten scores 2 penalties. One on 69 minutes to even it up, and then one on like 81 minutes to win the game. And it's not an easy kick, but he nails it. So Jack Hyten gets the credit for that one, man, getting them out of the jail. So, yeah, otherwise it would have been our first draw. We haven't had a draw yet in the league this year. So 4-1 for New York. They're looking pretty good. San Diego is still well above 500 at 4-2. So, yeah, both sides looking not too bad. New York are 3rd in the East. That's competitive, man. You've got a 4-1 record, still only good enough for 3rd. But there's 3 teams with 4-1 records, I believe. So, yeah, they're away to NOLA, and then San Diego is away to LA, who San Diego are 4-2, 2nd in the West. So, yeah. The last one, LA. Goodness me, it's another loss. 28-19 to the Warriors. For the reigning champions, it's not going too good. There was no score for the first 20. LA got the opener. Utah did go in front, though, because they had a penalty and then a load of phases. It seems like they went from one end of the field to the other, just building through phases to go in front at halftime, 10 points to 7. LA went back in front, 12-10. There's a penalty, 13-12, 16-12 to Utah. Smith, the halfback for LA, got a try to make it 19-16, but then it seems like it's pretty much Utah from there. Like, is it Niall Saunders, the halfback for Utah? When they've got a penalty right in front which can even it up, he just taps it and goes into the corner, so scores a great try. Really ambitious stuff. And then LA with a bad pass in their own 22. I think that was Rini, which was unfortunate. So, yeah. LA got a few guys out injured, remember? So, yeah, maybe that's costing them a little bit. But, yeah, 28-19. Not the best look for the home fans. So, yeah, LA, man, 2-3, below 500. 6th in the West, above only Dallas. Tough times. They are home to San Diego, and then Utah home to Toronto. Utah are 5th in the West with their 2-3 record. So it's tough, man. Like, Utah and LA were both playoff teams last year. I mean, there were still only 5 games in for those teams, so there's still heaps of time for them to turn things around. To be honest, it's good to see AG get a loss, because now everybody's had a loss. All we need is just Dallas to get that win. And then everybody... Oh, well, not DC. Yeah, DC need to have a win as well. Dallas and DC need to get a win. They don't play each other for still a few more weeks. So, yeah, it'll be interesting. You guys let me know your thoughts on the games. Some good wins for some teams which hadn't had them for a little bit, but some of the teams are still looking pretty strong. I'm not quite sure who the absolute favourites are yet. It would have been AG a week ago, but they've proved to be mortal. You guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.